These days, there's no shortage of affordable devices with premium-like features. Now there's one more throwing its hat into the ring, the Realme One. Realme is a sub-brand of OPPO, and this handset is the result of a partnership with Amazon India, where the phone is launching exclusively. While we don't know the official price yet, it's expected to cost around 17,990 rupees, which is roughly equivalent to £195 here in the UK, or $266 US. And for that, you're getting an interesting slew of features, whilst also facing some compromises. The first thing you'll notice is the diamond black finish. It's a glossy finish that reflects light in a kind of polygonal pattern. This looks a lot more impressive in press photos than in the flesh, to be honest, and at first I thought and hoped it would be textured in some way. That would have been really different and unique. In reality though, it's just a trick of the light that will often go unnoticed, especially under the provided case. You could easily achieve a very similar effect with a sticker or something else like that. Still, it's nice to see a budget phone trying something a little bit different. To be honest though, the phone generally feels quite cheaply made, very plasticky and light, and not in the good way. In fact, at first when I opened it out of the box, I had to double check that the battery was actually in it. I was also pretty disappointed to discover a micro USB port down the bottom. That definitely feels like a cheap choice these days. As do the haptics, which come from a very noisy and clumsy motor. And there's no fingerprint sensor, which is also something you almost always find on even budget handsets. Better news though is the 6-inch 2160 by 1080p screen with some very slim bezels. Some of the early official photos showed a notch, but it seems that this design feature was dropped last minute, as mine has a regular looking screen. That's going to be good news for some, but it would have been interesting to see a notch on a device this cheap. There's a single speaker down the bottom, but it's actually pretty loud as they go. That micro USB and generally cheap feel had me set up to not expect much when I first booted up the device. I was pleasantly surprised during setup then to discover the option for face unlock. This would be the result of the Helio P60 processor with its built-in NPU, Neural Processing Unit. And of course it somewhat mitigates the lack of fingerprint sensor, though not quite. And that AI prowess should also help to extend the 3410 mAh battery, which OPPO says will last 15 hours. 6GB of RAM is also a generous choice for a budget handset, as is 128GB of internal storage. And then there's the hybrid SIM tray, which will be useful either for using dual SIM cards of course, or expanding that memory. And on the whole, performance seems perfectly adequate. The Helio P60 is roughly equivalent to the Snapdragon 660 in that regard, and the 12nm production may help to contribute to the superior battery efficiency. That said, the chipset features a lesser GPU in the Mali G72 MP3. You may notice the odd dropped frame in demanding games, but nothing major. I'll be testing that out myself in the full review of course. The Realme One is running Android 8.1 Oreo with the Colour OS UI layer on top. I can't say I'm a fan, but that's a matter of personal taste, and again, things seem to breeze by with nary a stutter. The camera also seems to be above par for the price point and once again gets to join in with the AI fun. Around the back is a 13MP shooter, while the front gets a decent 8MP. Both are capable of portrait mode depth of field effects, as well as an AI beauty technology. Both of these are handled by the NPU, despite the single lens. In my very brief test so far, the camera performance seems pretty decent, but I'm going to need a bit longer to give it a final verdict. So this is a phone that very much feels like a budget device. It feels it and it looks it, despite Realme's best efforts with that weird back panel. But there are also some cool features here that largely come down to the AI, and at such a low price point, this might just be enough to convince some punters. Of course, I'll let you know how the device performs in much more detail, as well as going into what it's like to use on a day-to-day basis in the full review, so stay tuned for that. If you found this video useful and interesting, then please hit like, please share it around, that helps us immensely. Hit subscribe if you want more videos like this and hit the bell button for notifications, and of course check out AndroidAuthority.com, for we are your source for all things Android.